Farizadi, who is a Vice Chancellor for Al Sadiq International Virtual University. Today's session will be moderated by Dr. Tabassum Zehra, who is a professor at Aga Khan University in Karachi, Pakistan. With that being said, I would now like to hand over the stage to Dr. Tabassum Zehra to move forward with the workshop. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here again and host this important webinar of the SIUV webinar series. Today, what we're going to talk about is team-based learning, and with us we have Dr. Shahid Hassan, who is a professor at International Medical University, Malaysia. So before handing over the mic to Dr. Shahid, I will just walk you through the outcomes of this webinar. It's going to basically cover the theoretical basis of team-based learning and the structure of TBL for delivery and how you can develop yourself to give feedback and with regards to the concept of team-based learning. So, and also that he'll be talking about, he'll be basically going through some video demonstration and talking about peer assessments and, how assessments in team-based learning work. So with this, I would hand over to Dr. Professor Shahid Hassan, who will walk you through the overview and walk you through the structure of this webinar and take away straight into the webinar. Thank you so much. Over to you, Dr. Shahid.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, and thank you, Tabassum. Thank you, Mavish. Thank you, Prof. Zadi, for this putting me to this workshop, this webinar actually. Originally, it was planned as a workshop, but to run workshop on a huge number of attendants that the registration shows, the participants have registered, would have been difficult, but nevertheless, there's nothing to be worried about. I'll be delivering this more like a workshop, but of course there'll be no hands-on, but I'll be demonstrating you through, I have put up all my videos. I collected this morning all the videos so that that will help you to understand this model, TBL model, with visual impact. Talking in theory, talking through my text on slides and all, perhaps you will listen, enjoy it and forget. But with the visual impact, you will be able to understand exactly the philosophy behind it and the technique, how it is done. And I love this model, TBL. I am very strong proponent of this model. The simple reason is that this model has the opportunity to have assessment alongside the teaching learning delivery. So that's the beauty of this model. So some of those during COVID, I had recommended few schools who were having difficulties in their open book exam online. So with this TBL online, because open book exam proctoring and all cost a lot, so every institution can't afford. So TBL, once you deliver and once you have the assessment well developed in this, then it is a model which can be used both for teaching, learning, and assessment. And assessment in a formative way, all the data collected can further be used for summative assessment in a constraint like the COVID-like crisis, where we were all stuck up, we were all challenged with unprecedented issues. So this model is one of those. So going through the learning, first of all, I'll be taking you through the overview of the team-based learning, and then a video demonstration, and then TBL, third plenary would be TBL assessment, pre-class, in-class, IRAT and GRAT, and then post-class session of the VMC, which is virtual medical clinic. And the IRAT is individual readiness assurance test, and GRAT is the group or the team readiness assurance test, which is the assessment component of the TBL. So the peer assessment and scoring grading system in TBL is very important. This is important. I'm starting some typo error here. So the TBL scoring, especially students peer or the peer feedback is very important, and it's made authentic. You see, when we ask the students to kind of give rating of the group performance of the students, they will put every student will put another student on a very high rating, and that doesn't mean anything. But this, you'll see how this peer feedback is given. It's a very genuine feedback. You will realize at the end, the student can't escape from giving the authentic, the real feedback that they have. Normally they will not give it, but they will be they'll be bound to give it with some of the scoring system that we have. At the end, we will have question answer session, and Dr. Tabassum will handle that. She will handle that, and you can put your question when I'm on slideshow. I'm not reading the chat box, so she will be doing, as a moderator, will be assisting me to take me through questions. And then, so the learning outcome is, and we'll strictly follow that learning outcome so that you all can achieve at the end, recognize the theoretical basis of the TBL. Number 2, appraise the structure of the TBL for delivery. 3rd, apply IRAT and GRAT and virtual medical clinic and TBL assessment. And 4 is to develop peer feedback concepts in TBL. With this, I'll start with my first talk, which is an overview. The agenda would be definition, history, a little bit feature, and then rationale, the process of the process and the principle, and outcome, and ultimately the summary. So TBL is one of the technique or the method in which groups of the students interact in a collaborative manner in a large classroom. It doesn't need, like TBL doesn't need multiple facilitator in a large classroom, which is divided into a smaller group and yet can be handled by one facilitator. That's the beauty of this model. And the problem given would be, student would be expected to solve the problem given, and before the problem is given, the readiness assurance tests for the session is also measured through IRAT and GRAT. I'll talk to it a little. The other most important thing is the immediate feedback. See, right? If you follow the scratch card when you're doing face-to-face, I'll take you through both the scratch card or the online scratch coins that you can use. You can do those. We have developed that. I'll share with you that. And the 3 articles have been, Prof. Zadi has shared this evening, 3 articles on web WhatsApp group. You can download those, and those are relevant to this presentation. So historical background was in 1970 by Dr. Larry Mickelson, professor of the management at University of Oklahoma. Actually, he invented this model because he was fed up of, didactic kind of traditional lecture, and he wanted it to be a little more interactive. Imagine 1970, right? He wanted it to be a little more interactive, so he created this model. He named it TBL by assigning students to multiple small teams in a large class to solve application, which was a kind of assignment given to the group. So the pre-class, but before the students would come, there was like a flipped classroom principle. The pre-class, some material was sent out to the participant, and the students as individual learner from the teacher specified and assigned content. It's not an assigned content, and the content which can be read, which can be acted upon after reading into the in-class session, that was sent out. And you can also use that. I am using not only the reading material, but also the assignments. I'll share with you when I do the exact steps in assessment. So assignments can also be sent out. And this is the beauty that the students, whether they like it or not, they will have to go through the reading material because they have to contribute towards their team kind of assignment in the in-class session. So next, after the pre-class, to read out the material, send out 1 to 3 weeks prior, then is in-class session, which is students as a team learn from the application of the focus teacher specified content. That is, some kind of assignment will be given, some lab reports can be given, some article can be shared with them on that, and their opinion can be sought. So you can use any way, any kind of a group assessment, group assignment. But there should be something like problem solving kind of, and this will be open up for discussion, and then the group will be observed for their performances. Third would be during the class. Further, students receive frequent and immediate feedback from the supervisor in a facilitator role. It's not a teacher, it's a facilitator, right? Going back to the history, TBL first workshop in Malaysia was held by Malaysian Association Association of Educators in Medicine and Health Sciences, 2015 in KL by myself and Prof. Nabisha in UKM. So these were the attending and some of the institutions that practice this TBL. And first was my institution to practice it in University UNISA in Terengganu in Malaysia. Terengganu is in East Coast, is a university that I was working before joining IMU. The TBL principles uses the educational principle of transforming the traditional content, which is a didactic lecture. Supposing after this workshop, I would suggest you everybody to pick up one of your lecture and transform it into TBL. After you have learned this, that will be a kind of workshop, which will be a take-home workshop. I can't do it online and give you feedback, but take home. But those who can submit to us through SIVU platform, I can give feedback. Okay, so content into application of the knowledge and problem solving in an interactive learning environment. The other principle is TBL promotes interpersonal skills. Students work as a team, right? So they have to collaborate with each other within the team and between the teams. So with emphasis on learning how to learn, work together, interact actively, and collaborate as a team with conducive learning environment created by the facilitator. Further principle in TBL is it helps individuals who learn through an active collaborative learning curriculum to have a greater long-term knowledge retention component. So it's an experiential learning. It follows the principle of the experiential learning where the learning is contextualized, the prior knowledge is triggered, right? They develop an experience, then they reflect with a team competition, and then they get the feedback. And finally, the gaps in knowledge, they will identify, they read further. This is what exactly the experiential cycle is, okay? Another is the TBL provides controlled learning implementation strategies that increases the students' engagement. So, you know, we all have been talking about the students' engagement, but when the COVID came in, that was really felt a necessity. How the students can be engaged during the online teaching and learning. Students were frustrated, faculty was frustrated, but then many of us evolved through this crisis, and TBL, one of the model, which in my institution we used and we successfully used during the COVID pandemic. And the main reason was that this model offers you a good students engagement. So the other features are, the permanent long-term group facilitator will create. For unlike PBL, in PBL, usually the group will keep changing from one PBL module to another. Here it is recommended that a group of 5 to 7 students in a smaller group, a larger class divided, but this group should carry on through a term, through a phase, or even through the entire program. Don't disrupt them. They can make, so this is very important because system wants the students to work as in a team and develop that kind of psyche and understanding where they develop a teamwork kind of understanding. Individual accountability for out-of-class work such as reading and home work being given 1 or 3 weeks prior to the first in-class meeting based on the theme. There has to be a theme. TBL is always delivered, for example, chest pain, right? But under the chest pain, you can have in the session, you can have assignments or, tasks given, could be on MI, could be on ischemic heart disease, could be on bacterial endocarditis, or so many other things. So, or like sore throat, I have used it for sore throat, neck masses and all. and the hostness. And then under the one theme, you can use multiple cases, scenarios. So individual accountability for out of the class work, such as reading and homework being done 1 to 3 prior to the in-class meeting, is based on the theme and is none of the facilitator business, I tell you. The students, that's the beauty of this model, that you don't have to compel the students to, be on time and be kind of do your homework and do one. No, here the student will do themselves because they work as in a team and they know that in the session they will be competing with the other team. So they know that their contribution will be marked, right? And their individual and group performance will be marked. So it's none of the facilitator business to actually hold on this difficult task of pushing the students to be disciplined, to be organized, and to be attending the sessions. Incentive for the working effectively together as a team by giving significant credit points for team activities, right? So this, every team would like to win this, and even you have the bonus marks. In-class application exercise further feature is, which is a hallmark of the team-based learning that promotes both learning and the team development, okay? Just-in-time feedback is another characteristic which is frequently provided both on individual and team level. And even if facilitator doesn't provide it, I'll show you when you do IRAT and GRAT, particularly with GRAT, when you are doing it for partial credit and the students having fun doing it as in a team, if they are wrong in one answer, they can have another attempt. And they know if the first attempt out of, say, 4 choices, first attempt will fetch them 3 marks, second will fetch them 2 marks, third attempt will fetch them 1 mark. So they are not disappointed, all or none, yes or no, like at OBAs, right? So they will have partial credit to their multiple attempts. Ultimately, 4th attempt, the right answer will come up, so that has 0 mark. I'll talk on that later in my next plenary. So peer feedback that acknowledge peer appreciation for the effective role in TBL to know significant, authentic rating that I talked to you a little bit. So rating is authentic and they have no choice, but they have to be genuine in marking their peer. TBL reduces burden by promoting increased students' responsibility. I have talked already. TBL, they push each other to be, in theme, to be reading the reading material, to be active, to be participating. And TBL helps by devoting majority of the class time to small group activities. So a large class into smaller group, and each group that will have, and they will have the same parallel. They don't have different assignment or different tasks to do. They have the same task to do, okay? PBL help a student who are uninterested in subject matters, hardly do homework. Like in PBL, we have observing that, and most of the time we can't do anything. Here, they cannot avoid that, okay? Because the team, the other members will push him. So all those uninterested in PBL and CBL, they become very regular. And I have seen some of the students who were very docile, very passive learner during the PBL were very active in TBL. TBL transform traditional content into problem-solving authentic case scenarios. I'll share that with you also. TBL is useful where task-based team performance is required to accomplish a project. Further, on advantages, TBL motivates a student to learn how to learn, work as a team, and interact collaboratively, right? It also, TBL is also important for greater long-term knowledge retention, because, we use the experiential cycle here. So the contextualized knowledge, which is delivered through a context, triggering or motivating them with their prior knowledge. And that one, when cycle completes, the thing moves, the information moves from short-term memory to directly to long-term memory. And if they are retained in the short-term memory, the interface of the experiential cycle will push it to the long-term memory. They will remember it for a longer period. TBL increases the students' engagement in outcome-based education, is no doubt in it. So rationale, why should we do it? In first rationale, I would say in COVID, this was a necessity. TBL, because it has a model. It is a model which we are teaching, learning, as well as assessment was delivered. The opportunity was to do it both in the same session. To encourage team performance, behavior, and skills training, essential of an effective medical team. You know, when we prepare our students, we are preparing them for future effective team persons, right? They have to work in a multidisciplinary situation where nursing staff, paramedics, medical doctors, physiotherapists, dietitian, and all will work as in a team. So this teaching through this model, the students develop that kind of team working in a team. To apply complex concepts to solve problem, individual may not solve it. Sometimes problems, they struggle. So when they do it in a team, many minds joined together can solve it better. To learn from the team tasks that may be difficult for individuals, right? And then frequent immediate feedback provided through the system and through the facilitator. So I'll take you through the process. So first phase is preparation, which is pre-class. And then second phase is readiness assurance test. Before they take the assignment or mini lecture, they have to go through IRAT and group GRAT. Phase 3 is application of the concept, which is in class. So first phase is pre-class, and the other two are in class, phase 2 and phase 3. So individual work, if you look down there in the table, phase 1 is individual work. Phase 2 is the small group, and the total class discussion when they discuss when some situation given to them or scenario given to them. So the phase 3 is the application of the concept, is basically to look at the impact on learning, right? How do the student perform when having gone through the pre-class reading and some assignment, then individual assignment, then individual assessment, group assessment, and then they are really ready to do any assignment or the scenario that you give them to solve. So the pre-class, so individual work, attend, and you can send an normally on online, I send them iLecture, interactive voice over recorded lecture, which is embedded with, where assessment is embedded within it. Time permits, at the end, towards the end, I'll show you all this with the videos. Read textbooks, right? You can, from their textbook, prescribed textbook, you can, but it's not that you just tell them read this chapter. You have to precisely tell them from page 15 to page 23, read these many pages, and those pages should be readable within the time that you are giving them. Okay, so read journal articles or do assignment. But are you realizing that there's a lot of work for the faculty actually? So TBL, but you shouldn't be worried, because initially when I was taking up, I thought there's a lot of work for faculty to do. But once you have put this thing, lesson plan, right, which you are delivering face to face, and when you're doing online, and when you develop it for online, you are very comfortable. You have an archive that you can use, pandemic or no pandemic, you can use all this lesson plans. If you have organized it in a TBL format, you can use them easily. Okay, like I'm using it. I'll show you this. In a way, I'm doing you with the reading material has been sent out to you, but I'm so sorry it is sent out just so this shouldn't happen. But that is for your future reading. But you can take it that I'm delivering a TBL where the reading material has been sent out, and then next would be in-class session, which you're going through a kind of plenaries. But the lecture in TBL is mini lecture. A 45-minute lecture should be transformed into 5 to 7 minute lectures only. So the phase in-class readiness assurance test, how would you go it? Individual tests. When the students come, each will be given individual tests. If yes, face-to-face, you can give them paper pencil test of OBA 10 or 5 or 10 OBAs. Or you can use an online, if they have laptop, they have computer, you can use online OBS individually, right? But individually, they will not be allowed to see the answer, right? Why? Because the same OBS which they are doing individually will be given to them to do as a team. Now you see what a beautiful arrangement is. Student will do it individually, they wouldn't know the score, because if they know the score, there's no point coming to the team as doing it as a team if you know the answer. So answer, they will be submitting it individually, but answer will not be shown to them. Or if you're doing as a hard copy test, so when the students come, they are divided into big class, large class, divided into say 7 to 10 subgroups. Each group's students will receive the same OBA to do individually in 10 minutes or 15 minutes and pass it on to the facilitator, or you give them a link and they can do it there. Then the same OBA will be given to them to do it as a group. So as a group, they will do it. And then they will, if they are doing online, the score will be preserved for the facilitator to record, or if not, then those are taken. The scores are taken and is put in their file. Okay, but the group work marks would be the same for the entire group. Individual, they will have individual marks, right? And also keep an eye on individual tests. For example, I have given it 20%. So the group work will be another 20%, right? So the appeals and the group, the individual and the team are the closed book exam. Then you will open up, you will take each the OBE item, will discuss with the entire large class. And if there is something which, or sometime I intentionally do some wrong answer, wrong key in and all, and if they pick up, they appeal. But if they appeal, they are allowed to open books at that time. So they can consult book and they have to show the reference or the evidence to what they are talking is wrong, or wrongly wrong, or intentionally put wrong. And if the group pick up that they get some bonus mark. So question and discussion starts further on, and then clarify issues and understanding, and then at the end there's a peer evaluation. So the process 3, the application. Here the groups will be given the same assignment or same problem to solve, and then the time will be given. How do you allocate time? This TBL can be run in one session. Normally we do it in one session, but ideally it should be done in 2 sessions like PBL. Even you can have 3 sessions also if you are covering a lot of scenarios under one theme. Okay, so the groups apply the fundamental concepts of the course module, and then normally you should allocate 50% of the classroom time into 1 to 2 meetings. So you should give more time for the in-class application. Give significant choice of the, you can do that, assignment given, a task given. You can ask them to diagnose a scenario given, diagnose the case, and then you will have marks for it, right? Then you can have SOQ on that. You can have SEQ questions. So how you put it, it's your choice, right? But there should be some kind of response from them as a team. This is done as a team, okay? If you look at the TBL versus traditional, you see TBL has reading, pre-reading, then it has got the assessment as an IRAT, individual readiness assurance, and group readiness assurance, then in-class team application where some assignment is given, right? And then there is a mini lecture. Compared to this, traditionally, if I have put something here as a lecture, all in all is the traditional lecture. On top, if you have something for them to read, usually is not done unless you have you are going to have an interactive session. So that's how you compare TBL with the traditional lecture. Facilitator accountability, quickly, high amount, right? Faculty to students interaction is very high. Then motivation to teach, tap enthusiasm of the empowering students to learn in teams. It's not that you just push them, then they will be empowered to do that. So kind of personalized, directed self-learning. Directed is not self-directed, directed self. You direct them to do something. Individual class preparation, little work needed, so can focus on guiding the teams to do some other tasks in class, okay? Then you have student attendance is none of your business. Team will make sure that all of them attend. Low faculty to students ratio, Facilitator work with large class, not unlike PBL. You need multiple room, you need multiple facilitator to run. Here, one facilitator, a large group divided, and you don't need even room. The same sitting arrangement. If they are loose furniture, you can just group them, or you can fix furniture. Then you can tell them to leave some seats in between and get apart into team, maintaining little distance from each other. No special facilities required. No need for small group rooms like PBL. So if you do phase 1, you have send them iLecture, you have some reading textbook and assignment, right? Phase 2, you have IRAD, GRAD, and then in-class application in phase 3. So you start with here, if I say, you see, look down there, you start with 40% of the knowledge which students have developed by their pre-reading assignments and, a material sent out, but they come with 40% having gone through the IRAD, GRAD, 40, 50, 70, 80. Ultimately, when the session finishes, students have achieved the outcome of the theme of the topic around 90 to 100%. So the team-based learning is, in summary, is a small learning group method where individual work is done outside the class. Teamwork is completed inside the class. 4 principles are followed. Number 1, properly formed and managed group. Facilitator should form the group, and this group should continue for a term at least, okay? Long term. Number 2, students' accountability falls on the students. They will be made responsible to do it. Number 3, team assignments that promotes learning, group interaction, and team development. They will do that because they are competing for mark. Number 4, frequent and immediate feedback to students. Okay, towards the rationale for using TBL, a good interactive alternative to passive lecture, no extra facilitator, develop interpersonal skills, and it helps at-risk students, right? So they can't afford to be passive, they have to be active. Implementation of the TBL involves planning before the class. This is something, but I tell you, don't be afraid of this, because as a faculty, when you develop for the TBL, you develop the materials. It's your material. You can use this time and again whenever you are asked to deliver it in various other models also. So it's a very comprehensive, your topic is comprehensively prepared for face-to-face or online. I'll show you how do you transform it into online. Forming groups in the first class that continues, reminding the students of the learning outcome. Send them learning outcome, and they should be adhering to achieving those learning outcomes. Demonstrating content application, right? Teamwork towards the end of the class. So summary would be you start with 40% maybe knowledge, and you keep on improving it as the session goes on. Out of the class, 15 to 25 pages article you should send 1 to 3 weeks before. In class activity, 1 to 1.5 hours you can spend reading for the preparation, and then readiness assurance test, IG, IRAD, GRAD. All in all, it will make it a good instrument. These are my references. So here I will move on to a demonstration, right? I'll take the question towards the end if you're happy with it. So let me move on. Tabassum, is it okay I move on to demonstrate at this point?
Yes, I think Tabassum is slightly, yeah. Are you there, Tabassum? She was disconnected. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Because at this point, thank you, Prof. Zadi and Tabassum. So is at that point, if I go through demonstration, would be more like visual impact, having understood everything, how it happens. You see, I have a TBL, right? I'm taking you through the real situation, real TBL. So I send out these articles to the students, I think 2 weeks before, and ask them to read this article, right? And an assignment was sent also to do individually, not as a team. As an individually, they should do the assignment, right? So this is the session. For example, they come to the class, and as they come, they are divided into, in this situation, I think 5 groups, the large class, right? And then they will be given, because this is prior to the COVID era, so they were given to do it in class. So hard copy of the OBA, like MCQ, they were given to do it individually. So students are doing it individually, but here you will see that after this, they will be divided into groups, right? So I'll not run the whole thing, but they are just to show you how it's run step by step, right? So next, the students, after the I-write is common to all, so they will be divided in the same classroom. They are divided into groups. Okay, they are doing as in a group. Now the same OBA, hard copy of the same OBA is given them to do it as in a group, right? But here the beauty is that they will not be, they will discuss, and then they will decide on a right answer. Then a scratch card is given to them. I'll share towards the end, next plenary, the scratch card, and I've uploaded an article on that also. So the scratch card will be used. So say they agree to scratch response 1, they will scratch. If the star appears, then they will, this is the right answer. Otherwise, they will move to next attempt, another attempt, and every attempt will carry them some marks. Okay, so they are doing it as in a group after a discussion. So the same OBA which they have done individually, now they are doing as in a group, right? And I have seen always as a group, their performance is better in their OBA. Okay, next, instructor feedback. Instructor will discuss all these OBAs, right? And if the students challenge anything that I have intentionally done some mistake, to see whether a student can pick up or not. If they do that, they have to show me reference, and this time this is open book. So they are allowed to open their books, and if they challenge that thing, or the right or wrong answer coming from other groups, they can challenge each other, and then they are given bonus mark to that. Okay. And now, now this is we are in one of my session, one student challenge, and then she showed me the reference, and this group was given a mark for that. Okay, and she showed me the reference, because this is open book, they are allowed to have the mini lecture. After this, one may deliver or one may avoid also. If you feel happy, no need, okay. But this mini lecture is just for 5 to 7 minutes, maximum 10 minutes in 1 hour class, right? Not more than that. So this, if you feel necessary, something to be to explain to the student, some lab reports to be shown, some other things to be shown, you can use this as a mini lecture. Then the phase 3 application, right? So for example, this scenario was given to them, to the entire group, the same scenario, and the simple thing was asked, read this, and these are the data given. This is the picture of the patient scenario, right? Just give your diagnosis. Okay, so they will diagnose and they will be given marks for their diagnosis. But when they have different diagnoses, so you will open up without telling as a facilitator what is the right diagnosis. You will open the entire class for discussion. They will confront each other if they are they think their diagnosis is right. So you will mark them as a facilitator, their team performance, right? They are challenging each other, their knowledge, their attitude, their interactive capabilities, they are respecting each other and all. So you mark them for that. Okay, after that, assignment is given and the students are solving this assignment as in a group. So they are doing it, right? And they will simply, this was just to diagnose this case, right? So they will come up with a diagnosis. Okay, the students will apply their core concept in solving this problem, right? And then after this, they will facilitator will open up for discussion and will ask every group to come up with their diagnosis. Group assignment, supervisors keenly observing the group performance, right? As they're doing, you move around, you go from one to another, and something which is within the jurisdiction they ask, and you can reply. You can reply.
There is one more thing. It is difficult for patient to open mouth.
Okay, so then you do that. So next is so then you give your remarks on the after the discussion. You wind it up telling the right diagnosis with some differential why this was right and why, and then you will also discuss some of the other group diagnosis if they were close to the right diagnosis or not. So next important thing is how to evaluate. Then you give the students to evaluate each other within their group, right? So this is very important to learn here, because this is the most important part of the TBL, I suppose. So the group will be given how they are trained. So when I was conducting, after 1 or 2 sessions, they were very comfortable in doing it. So we tell them, so for the authentic and realistic marking, we'll give them this templates, and we'll ask them to, for example, you have 5 students, right? You have 5 students in the group. So the student who is marking will not mark himself, but he will mark rest of the 4 student performance in the group, in his own group, right? Then they are given 25 marks, for example, 20 marks to each. So initially they will have 20 marks for each 4 students, right? So 80 marks, or make it 25, so is easy to understand, 100. So 100 marks distributed, 25 among the 4 students in a group of 5, where a person who is rating them will not rate himself. Then he is asked first to put down, who do you think in the group you rate them as number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Once they have put down, then they will not be allowed to give equal 25 marks to each of them. So those they feel number 1, and they will justify it. You other side reasons, highest and lowest mark. So they will justify. So the one group who is the student number 1, who they feel, the rater feel that he has performed, he was more efficient, then he will give more than 25 marks. Everybody in his pocket is initially given 25 marks. So if he is given, for example, 30 marks, so somebody who is 4th, marks will be deleted or removed from his 25. So that way, every student will have different marks. And then you have to put down, and this is very confidential. You can't share this with students. It has to be very confidential, right? So closing session, peer evaluation is done, and they are marking each other, right, within the group. There are 5, so suppose 25 marks only. So they will be marking each other, and then you will collect that. Okay. Now quickly, if at scratch cards, which they use in the group rating, when I was doing it for face-to-face, I have, you can ask this. Now we are going back again face-to-face. One company is producing this card. You can ask them in USA, and you can use that card, right? So if at a scratch card with the, it's like a lottery, people use in lottery, right? So you have different options given there. If I directly go, so there are 4 to 5, for example, options. The scratch card you will order will depend on which kind of options you have. Your four options, OBA, or 5 options, or 3 options. They have the card for all this. So you will ask them to bring. Then in the bundle, one card you will scratch and find the right answer. So, for example, 10 questions. They will have a scratch card for 10, right? A scratch card for 5 questions. You will send all this specification to the company producing this card, right? But now it's online, so we have developed our own system. No money, nothing. It's very costly, right? When I was doing it, so a scratch card, say example 5 questions. So you will have order a card with 4 options and 5 questions. So then one card from the bundle, you will go for scratching it and finding the right answer. For supposing question number 1, right answer is B in the list. Question number 3, right answer is C in the list, right? So you will then develop your answer according to the scratch card, okay? And then you will give this scratch card to the students. When they scratch, the star will appear. This star is the right answer. When they scratch and the star appear, they shout, they enjoy this when they do it as in a group. Okay. And then the partial credit system, mandatory in this. So you mark them. So 1 attempt, 2 attempt, 3 attempt, this card will be evidence to that. So how many attempts in each question they made, and facilitator can collect those cards and then can mark them. Okay. So I will straight away take you. These are the description. So you can use 3 points right answer to, you can allocate marks. For example, first attempt, you give 3 marks, second attempt, right answer 2 marks, third attempt 1 mark, and fourth ultimately will be the right answer, so 0 mark. But this marks you can allocate as you want. These are the different model schema given. You can pick up any one, which one you want marks. But this is the scratch card, right? So for example, they read the group leader or the one in the group will lead the question, and then they will discuss, and then they will discuss among which one to scratch, right? So they will, for example, they will scratch E, correct answer. So for me, in my rubric, 5, 3, and 2 marks. There were 5, so 5, 3, 2, and 1. So you will give marks accordingly. So you see here, 1 attempt made. Here you can see 2 scratches, so less mark. Here 3 attempts made, 2 marks. Here 4 attempts made, and 5th attempt ultimately will be 0, because so this is how this scratch card system will work. So and an article I have given you, there's no article in the literature on this. When I started this, and the company was very happy when they heard that I have published an article on that, and I have shared this on the webinar, our group, SIVU, you can read that article. The entire system you will be able to understand if you're doing it face-to-face. But I'll share with you online with that, cost nothing to you. Scratching the if at scratch card, reveal the star, then creates positive reinforcements, lowers testing, it lowers the testing the anxiety, boosts the students' confidence, increases the students' engagement, enhances learning, and leads to student success. So this is how this will be. Engagement plus learning is the student success that I understand you will achieve with this assessment, IRAT and GRAT. Okay, so having done that, then quickly I'll go to what time is it? Yeah, still a little time. I want to give it question answer. Talk 3. For this, if I can take you through, this is online team-based learning and assessment activities. How do you do it, right? So actually, you can develop this. We developed during COVID, we developed online. So, so you will have the, you click the link, you will give this link, the students will, first thing, learning outcome must be there, right? They will have their learning outcome. So the you can put your question as an SAQ, OBA, and whatever form, right? So pre-class sessions, right? For example, they have a pre-class session. They will simply, I'll take you, for example, if I can click here and I get, yeah. So you click here and the student will, this will take them to students about the team-based learning. This is, theme was the hoarseness, right? So this is their learning outcome, their patient case scenario, and their teaching delivery, how they will be working in this. Our thing is explained and their links are provided here, right? So you will, I hope I don't cut through the, yeah. Okay, so next you move, right? This pre-learning material, you will send them for the different links. For example, here they were saying they were sent a test of prior knowledge, their test, and then second was their ideal produced as a micro content. I'll share that quickly with you. So for example, here they will go through some voiceover recorded or lecture. You see, if I highlight this, these are the learning outcome and these are the questions to them, right? They will, we ask them question and then later the answer is given. This is, you can see a speaker here is a voiceover recorded lecture, right? Interactive lecture. So then some question, then again some question, then you will have some answer to it in a very not detailed, they will read out from there. So similarly, you go and then you can have the test of prior knowledge, and then we have produced a micro learning content, for example, skills procedure. So they will click, they will enter their login number, they will enter, and this will be kind of micro learning content. Within 5 minutes, how do you perform? How do you perform the ideal? right?
Okay.
So,
Good morning. I'm
so
Dr.
this will
Shahid.
be a demonstration. I'm just showing you a demo of the how these are. These are all produced during the COVID era for the students, not to be frustrated with clinics or their placement were withdrawn, clinical placement were withdrawn. So right, so this will be a demo. You can have a micro content for them to go through this procedure, right? Emboss has all this, but I prefer developing my own. You can develop your own as well, right? So next will be scratch card. So there, the scratch card here, for example, I take you through the IRAT, the individual, right? Individual, as they click, it will immediately take them to the individual 10 questions on hoarseness, right? They will be answering, they will be submitting, but they will not be getting the answer to each, right? Later, the feedback will be given by the supervisor, but then you do the same as a group, GRAT, Group Readiness Assurance Test. Students will log in, they will enter here, then they will open this test, right? You have to have a number. For example, I'm group 2, so I put group 2 start, right? So their students will discuss among themselves which is the right answer. The same they have done as an IRAT individual. So once they decide scratch number 3, C, so you drag this and you scratch it.
Good job.
So this says good job, so you can continue, right? Full marks given, right? For example, now here I take the second question. The group, one of the group member will read. They will discuss, decide which one is the right answer.
Please try again.
Right. Try again, meaning this is not. So one attempt is done, right? Then I do this. Another attempt, right? Try again, because this is not the right answer.
Sorry.
So
maybe next time.
Right. So so continue with this. So this is how you will do. Just read in a group member will read. Then they will decide which to read, and then
good job.
So this is how. But this marks at the end when they have finished. Facilitator will get the marks. So this we have created. The concept came from me, and e-learning department helped me to develop this. So I don't need the scratch card anymore. It's very expensive too. Okay. So moving on to further, this is how we use scratch sorry. Now, I'm taking you after this. This is in class. The session is over. Then you tell the students to go, and the similar case is given as a virtual medical clinic. So they will go, and there is an assessment in this. So they will be learning history taking, examination, investigation, management, everything. At the same time, there will be some assessment also going on, right? Would you like to assume where you here? So so our faculty would be developing their own cases, right? E-learning help us to develop this as a virtual medical clinic, and then yeah, you see history taking. Supposing I'm going to history taking, there will be question answered, and this patient will answer your question. You can move on. There start. Right. So you will ask the question, the answer given, and then you have to pick up the right answer. You will be given marks for that. So move on to, I think I have to complete this and then to move on to the next, right? So diagnosis management, I can't hit here. I think I have to complete, then I can move further, right? So similarly towards the end, so there will be questions in it also. If I can show you. Go back. Are you really finished? No. Okay, so I want to show you when the family history investigations, for example. So these are the so this is how it will be developed. So they will have one case scenario, and they will work up this, and at the end they will get a score, how much they did it well and how much they didn't. The time doesn't permit me to take through this, maybe some other time. So This is how you do the VMC, and ultimately you move on to do the reflection and the peer feedback, right? So reflection, you can have, you can develop this all. So this is how the students will reflect on what they have learned, right? And at the same time, prior test, they will put down their marks, okay? Prior test, they will put down marks, how much they got it, and then they will reflect how was each thing. All is provided to them online. And at the lastly, they will have this. They will have the peer feedback evaluation, right? So this is how it will be done. And very quickly, I'll take you through the last one. How do you calculate the marks? Yeah. Okay, so the next talk that I'm taking you through is how do you calculate the marks? So students are asked to give, as I said to you, showed you also, they're 1, 2, 3, and then they will give marks. But the criteria, they are guided. It's not, it's an informed decision. They will have the guideline why I should give place somebody in the group 1 and 2 and 3. So contribution in each class, responsibility, personal attributes, right? And then instruction for peer evaluation is provided to the students. And then they will put 1, 2, 3 marks, right? And then reason for a high or low marks. And then you divide your the whole TBL into certain numbers. So you divide them, for example, group activities and the assignment. So for example, individual activities was IRAT, right? They will, and then some essay was given to them, question, or you can give any assignment. So it was 40% marks in weighting, 20 for the IRAT, individual rate, readiness assurance test, and 20 for the assignment that you have given them prior to coming to the class. Group activities, 40%. Group, the same OBA, IRAT will be done as a group. Then group assignment, right? And this group assignment will be again 20%. Then finally 20% marks will be by the, you can keep it 10% also. If you feel the students, too many marks appear, you can reduce. So the method of calculating this mark is a little need time for you to understand, but I'll make it easy for you. Peer evaluation percentage method, right? There's one, but I recommend separate team maintenance score, right? Percentage method is a multiplier in calculating of the students' evaluation, peer evaluation, but here in team maintenance score is a better way to do it. For example, first of all, you have to divide your marks, how much for the individual activity, how much as a group, and how much as a team. Team maintenance means the peer feedback, okay? So having, for example, in this scenario that I'm taking you through, I've just created before I joined this session. So for example, I write an individual assignment, I have sent them out, is 10 marks. This is 20 marks, but it will contribute 40% weighting of the overall TBL mark. GRAT and the group assignment in class, 10 marks out of 10, 20 marks, but it also contributes 40% weightage, and the peer evaluation contributes. So it's 100 overall, right? And then you calculate. So what you ask the student to fill in first, place students in their group 1, 2, 3, 4, and then give marks, right? So they will give marks. So you will collect this from individual, each students, about the 4 in the group they have rated, and then you will put them in a table. So this table you will calculate. So you see, there's a 10 marks, but somebody is getting 12. If somebody is getting 12, another will be getting 8, because total has to remain 40, because there are 1, 2, there are 5 students. Total has to be 50, but marks will be given to them different. So one may get more than 100% also. Then you use this 20% multiplier with 11 out of 10, then multiply, this will be 0.22. Similarly, each student you will calculate, then plug in all this. So for example, IRAT, right, individual rating, marks calculated, individual assignment, marks calculated, right? Then some of the individual activities, total marks is this. 1.2 here, and then 40% you will calculate will be this, right? So similarly group, but the only thing which I want you to understand is that the individual marks is what it is, right? But the group marks will be multiplied by the peer. So every member in the group will get the same marks, because the GRAT marks will go to every individual and group assignment to every member in the group. So they have same mark. But how the difference will come? The difference will come, the peer evaluation marks will be a multiplier of this group activity. So for example, in the individual activity, 48, in decimal, I'm putting it easier for me to in percentage. So is, for example, 48%. Here, the group activity marks, which is same for everyone, is 52%, right? But this 52 will be multiplied by the individual peer evaluation. Here, in this case, was 0.22. So 0.22 will be multiplied by this marks. So then you will add individual remains the same for individual, but this one will the group marks, which is same initially, but the effect will come, they have different marks when it is multiplied by the peer. So how much important of the peer evaluation is. The same thing you do it in Excel. So we have developed, I just plug in numbers. We give it to every facilitator in the TBL. They just plug in the numbers, automatic, all will be done. So with this, I thank you very much. Sorry for running a little over time if I am, but I'm ready to take questions. Over to you, and Tabassum.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hassan, for such an elaborative and wonderful talk. I'm sure that everyone was enjoying your talk, and we have been receiving some excellent comments in the chat box as well. So the first question that have come up is, how is this team-based learning different from MOOC?
No, okay. This is two entirely different teaching learning methods. MOOC is which is online. A course is provided to them, and they will go through on their own pace, or they can have synchronous or some asynchronous session there, which is entirely different from the TBL, right? Because TBL is run as an institutional level, is one of the teaching learning method that is part of your curriculum, part of your syllabus to deliver. MOOCs is something which you want to complement somebody's knowledge. You can develop MOOCs, which has got nothing to do with rating, which will be accountable at institution level, right? The one has its own personal evaluation and all. So there are two different concepts of these are the teaching learning method, which is part and parcel of the curriculum. I hope it's two different things, MOOCs and TBL. TBL you can compare with PBL, you can compare with lecture, you can compare with case-based learning, you can compare with the task-based learning. MOOC will be little two different concepts.
Right. So there are two different strategies that are being used. So the other question that's coming up is, can TBL be used for teaching skills like listening, reading, speaking, and writing, and sub-skills such as grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation in teaching English?
Obviously, yeah. It's not only for medical education. It can be used at school level. You can use at university level. It can use in different programs. Not, you see, the history is that it was initiated initially for the business program, not for the medical education. Medical education adopted it very lately, I would say.
So Dr. Mulazim Bukhari had his hand raised. Dr. Mulazim, can you unmute your mic and please ask your question? Dr.
Yes,
Bukhari, I think I have his G.
Fahad Azam is raising hand also.
Yeah, I think I have Dr. Bukhari's question in the chat box as well. Let me address his question first, and then maybe we can move on to the other. So the question that's coming up from Dr. Bukhari is that how is it different from PBL?
How is it different from?
Problem-based learning, PBL.
Okay, thank you. That I was expecting. So PBL, did you see in TBL, we have different phases. pre-class, in class, and in class we have got the assessment, GRAT, and then assignment, application of the concept. So you can give a scenario. But in PBL, you have a problem. The students learn. The philosophy is here. The problem-based learning is the approach, and it's a method also. But PBL is a method. So in PBL, you divide them into groups. You take them to different rooms. You have different facilitators for each room, right? Here, the same one facilitator will take can take a big class, divide them during the session, can divide them into subgroups. That you have some pre-reading material to them. There in PBL, they will only know they have a PBL and nervous system. They do not know what case they are getting tomorrow in discussion, right? So here they will know that this TBL is addressing the theme, which is sore throat or chest pain and all. And then they will be given some tasks to do, some reading materials to do, they like flipped classroom concepts here, and then in-class activity, and then assessment is very comprehensively done here. In PBL, it's not. It's basically the evaluation of a student's performance. They take a case where the triggers, in the form of triggers, information is given them into as they move along in discussion. And then there is another session where they have self-study time. They will identify their learning issues. They share from learning issues that they do the second session to solve the problem. So it is more or less both are self-directed, but here facilitator has a great responsibility, right? There the facilitator will get the tutor guide, and anybody can be a facilitator in PBL, even a librarian can do if he gets the tutor guide. But in TBL, a teacher has, a faculty has to develop all these material on his own, and then only he'll be ready for delivering the TBL.
All right. Thank you. So the difference also that has come up is that the learning objectives are pre-known to the TBL students, while they have to come up in PBL. The students have to come up with the learning issues. Right. Yeah. So Dr. Fahad Azam from Shifa College of Medicine have 2 questions. So I will ask him to please unmute his mic so that he can, go on with his questions. Fahad, can you please unmute your mic?
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Tabassum. Thank you so much, Dr. Shahid, for your excellent presentation. I have actually 2 questions. First question is that in your presentation, you mentioned that you would want to keep the groups constant for some time. So my question is, can't we shuffle the groups each time, and what would be the rationale for keeping it constant? And the second question is that in your own experience, would it be better to use TBL for formative purpose, or would you recommend it for summative too? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very good questions. First of all, the first question that in PBL, what was it? PBL, you said shuffle the group, yeah. In TBL, usually we have a long-term group. We do not shuffle them because here the team work is very important. It's considered very important. Understanding among the students is very important. So that's why. And then the team that is developed is developed by the facilitator, knowing the students, their capabilities and all kind of different level of students, not that all high performer are in one group and low performer or mediocre in other group. And in a country like Malaysia, we have multiracial, we have Indians, we have Chinese, we have Malays, we have other international students. So we try to make them a group, which is, but this group has to continue because working as a team is what is part and parcel of this TBL. In PBL, you can shuffle it with every module. They can go, and practically every institution will form new groups. But here, the longer the group, then the responsibility of the students in the same group would be that they will develop an understanding, interacting with each other, contribution, right, and then how to really take the challenges during between the team discussion and all. So that's why it is recommended, but it's not a rule of thumb that you can't change it. You can shuffle them also. But ideally, it is recommended that at least it should go for one term, one semester, or one phase of the program. Okay, second part of your question was? What was that? Second?
The second
That
part
is
was,
something informative, yeah.
Pardon?
Can it be?
yes, can it be used for formative purpose, or would you
Okay.
recommend it for summative?
Okay.
too?
TBL pre-COVID period was all over was used formative. It was used for formative, but sometime you can. It was used for triangulation. For example, many institutions where the TBL, because here the scores are something which is kept with the examination unit, and you can use those scores. For example, you hold summative assessment and the students perform borderline or his fail or borderline, and then you immediately, within the presence of the external who is staying another 2-3 days, and you conduct very in a hush-hush manner, you conduct a, remedial exam within few days, and the students are asked, sometime they are taken through some viva, and sometime the paper pencil test and all. You do that. So, and then you decide on a student's fate, right? Sometime such a comprehensive exam where he is borderline, the evaluator, the assessor will interview him, mark him for few viva question and declare him pass or fail. Is not the right way to do it. If, say, your TBL has been done round the year and students have taken assessment, and this assessment in terms of IRAT, GRAT has been kept in their document has the marks. So I suggest that the borderline students' decision should be made based on their TBL performance rather than going back and doing a remedial exam, which is sometimes is not comprehensive enough to decide somebody's fate. So this can be used for triangulation, one. Secondly, if a situation like COVID has arisen, then in that case, you cannot, for example, can't hold the open book exam. The closed book exam is because of the restriction, movement control order and all was not possible. So if you could do the TBL online and you keep this, you can even use this for the progress. Progress means you can use it for summative. Some schools have started having some marks developed from the TBL performance of the students, which is which has some weighting in their summative assessment. But currently, most of the schools are using it for formative.
Yeah, I can see Ikram's hand raised. So Ikram, could you please unmute your mic? Mohammad Ikram. I guess there's a problem with Ikram. So the connecting.
Yeah, okay. Now I can. Yeah, is it okay? Can you hear me?
Please, yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Can hear.
Yeah, Professor, thank you very much for really excellent session. My question is, ideally, how many sessions you should recommend to conduct all 3 phases of TBL?
Okay, thank you very much for this question, Arshad Ikram. Actually, ideally should be 2 to 3 sessions, but you can do it in one session also. We have been doing it in one session, TBL in one session, but for one session, at least it should be 1 hour, right? Not 30 minutes class can't be, lecture can't be transferred into TBL. You can do it in one session, but ideally should be at least 2 sessions, but recommended is 2 to 3 sessions. Because you do it first in class sessions, which is IRAT, GRAT, and you call it a day. Then the application, which is an assignment given to them as a group, you call it another session. And if sometime under one theme, for example, I'm having sore throat, then maybe I have different conditions under sore throat, right? So I can have in-class application 1, I can do it in 2-3 phases. So under the sore throat, I can cover a lot of conditions or scenarios, and for that I can hold as many sessions I want. But ideally, it should be done at least in 2 to 3 sessions, but we have been doing it in one session also.
Right, thank you. The thing is, because, for example, you are covering the sore throat. So do you, for example, if you have 3 or 4 teams, so do you assign a differential according to different diagnosis, different topic to different teams, or all team are working on one topic?
No, all team will have the same thing. When you do it as an application, in-class application assignment, the same scenario, the problem will be given to all the team at the same time. And since you say you have got 10 differential diagnoses, I want to cover at least 3 or 4. So I will hold more sessions and I will cover them, right? So, but the same scenario is given to all the group is not different. Because then later on you have to open it for discussion, team discussion. I hope I have answered your question, Arshad Ikram.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Prof. Shahid. Thank you.
So there's one more question which says that is TBL taking over PBL?
Okay. I would say I will strongly support that. TBL should take over PBL. Because reason I tell you, number one, you don't need a special arrangement. PBL, you have to produce the student guide, tutor guides, you divide them into groups, then you have to have multiple rooms, right? You have to have multiple facilitators. Here, it is initial investment of the faculty, teacher, developing, transferring his topic of a 1 hour lecture into TBL. Having developed all this material, he can hold the class, the entire large class he can be given, and he will be able to conduct this session. And during the session, divided them into group. He doesn't need a single facilitator, right? And then the team work that is developed here. Collaborative learning is also one of the mandatory philosophy of the PBL, but is more effective in TBL, where the group stays longer and then there. So one facilitator, single room, right? And a lot of guide and all you don't have to produce, and this can be run. So I think I will go for TBL. TBL over PBL.
Do you like Chinese food?
Arshad Ikram, can you switch off your mic because you are talking, we are hearing. Okay.
So we'll go with last 3 questions. There's a question from Mustafa Amiri who says that how can the TBL be used or implemented if we are going to teach 10 words which usually appear at the beginning of a lesson in our textbook?
10 words?
Yeah, it's I was not able to understand what he's trying to say. Maybe he can unmute his mic. And Mustafa
can
Amiri,
you elaborate a little bit? I didn't get it the right way question. Can you elaborate on this?
Probably, I think it's also related to the teaching skills in English and grammar and vocabulary. Probably he's talking about the same thing.
Yeah. No, you have to have, for example, in TBL is most suitable for the both preclinical and clinical, but it suits more to the clinical teaching, where you can have, say, one theme, under one theme, you can discuss different differential diagnosis, having developed your material for that. And the best part is once you have developed as a lesson plan, you keep it and then you can use it face-to-face or online also. We have developed like my topic, which was given to me to deliver in ENT in my curriculum in semester 7. I have converted all my lecture into TBL. So it can be used for any kind of, even a school has been using it, TBL.
Right. So the connecting question from Dr. Bukhari with regards to PBL is that what is the advantage of TBL over PBL? Though you have talked about some of the aspects of PBL, but he wants to know more about the advantages.
Okay.
Yeah.
So PBL, as I said, doesn't need many facilitator, doesn't need many rooms, doesn't need you to develop the tutor guide or student guide and all. And then team work in both is okay, but teamwork you will find more comprehensively important for the TBL, right? Then the other thing in TBL is with regard to students' engagement. You can engage a student throughout, the scratch card when they do, they really enjoy, they have fun, right? So assessment goes hand in hand with the teaching learning sessions, and then the students making student discipline and responsible for their own learning. This is you cannot achieve in PBL, but in TBL, students take the responsibility of their own learning, and students' engagement is achieved, personalized learning is achieved. So this all are, and most important thing is single facilitator can do TBL, but for PBL, if you introduce PBL in institution, If he doesn't have the budget, I think you can't do it. But TBL, you can do it easily.
Right. So the last question from Abida Shaheen. Abida, can you please unmute your mic and then we close the session. Abida, please go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Tabassum. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, can hear.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Shahid, for your beautiful presentation and explaining the concepts of TBL so well. I am Dr. Abda Shaheen from Shifa College of Medicine. Actually, we had some TBL session online as well as in-person TBL session with our students, third year class. As it is, you said that the ideal duration of TBL, that is about 1 hour or 1 to 1.5 hour session. So how many questions should be there in individual readiness assessment test and a group readiness assessment test, because there are post-group activities, and how many questions should be there in terms of a reliable, in terms of reliability, so the students, they keep engaged and they don't get bored. I am only asking in terms of the reliability of the assessment tools. These questions should be 15, 20, because I thought in one of our TBL sessions, we gave too many questions. Those were 25 and 30 assessment questions. And that somehow it bored students. They got exhausted in that activity. So what evidence says what should be the optimum number of questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much for this question. And this will be more practical for others who want to practice. Thank you very much for this question. So first of all, I'll say 5 to 10. Don't go beyond 5 to 10 items. OBA, if you're doing multiple true false, but you can do it extended matching also. But OBA ideally suits multiple choice questions as a true false, yes or no options, a dichotomous option, but it shouldn't be more than 10, 5 to 10. So if you're doing it in one session, don't give more than 5 items. Now your question is reliability, right? Looking at the reliability, there'll be a compromise in reliability in the sense that in 1 hour, 5 questions, how much can you cover, right? So it's not that if you're doing it for a summative assessment, then you have to actually care for your psychometric aspect of its reliability and validity. But remember that under the theme, you're covering one topic. So if you see the content validity would be more, or the reliability will be more, how much aspects of the topic you have covered. But here you are delivering TBL on one topic, under one theme on one topic. So say, for example, I have infectious mononucleosis, right? I know what students are required to know about infectious mononucleosis. What is important? Probably diagnostic feature would be very important. Monosport test will be very, very important. A student's presentation, sore throat and bull's neck and riddled, multiple lymph nodes in the neck, bilateral and all. So I should know which are the important aspects which a student should know about infectious mononucleosis. But I can cover this topic with 5 items also. I can, if I am doing it for more than 1 hour, I will take them to, for example, in hoarseness, which I showed, I have 10 items, right? And the other part, the IRAT and the GRAT, they're not different, same number. The same question you have to use it for the other group readiness assurance. Is not that you have different numbers, same, okay? So 5 to 10, if 1 hours, 1 session, you're delivering TBL, 5 questions. If you're delivering it more than 1, then you should go and do it 10 questions.
Right.
But not 20. Don't cross 50. I think maximum you should go 15, because as a team, when they do, they enjoy it doing. But if you give them like a summative assessment, 50 or 60 questions, they will not enjoy it at all. So you have to keep with the philosophy that TBL learning goes with fun also as a team. I hope I have answered your question.
Thank you so much, Dr.
Yeah, so this one last question, which is coming up as a request, please respond to. The question is from Anant Tahir, and she wants to ask that if we want to experiment this method before implementing in the curriculum, can we use it in small group discussion?
Can you use it in a small group discussion? What do you mean by that? A small group discussion, you mean at faculty level you're talking about in developing this TBL in curriculum, or small group?
Yes, my question is that in our ongoing curriculum, we have small group discussions and self-directed learning sessions. So we can maybe experiment in that small group discussion. It is like 1.5 hour to 2 hours. Yes,
yeah, I got
thank you.
Question. Okay, thank you for this question.
Is our MHP student as well.
Okay, good question. So, you should be innovative. I like innovation. We have done a lot of innovation. You see, in COVID, we were challenged with unprecedented situations where every teaching faculty, apart from teaching and learning and assessing students, has additional responsibility of researching and publishing and sharing with the global community. So if you have this kind of concept, it's a very good concept. The case discussion which you are doing online during COVID, you can use the TBL format for case discussion. For example, you have a scenario that you can use is as in a synchronous session. You can use it as an in-class application assignment for a scenario. Then before that, you can also test your students with IRAT or GRAT, right? Both. And then you can give them some assignment before the case discussion, pre-reading material or some assignment also to do in that particular case. So they come prepared. So case discussion can be made more meaningful in a flipped classroom philosophy manner, where pre-class, you have given them something to know about it. And then you have also developed some questions for them to answer before they actually take the case discussion, right? So this case discussion can be delivered as an assignment, and then you can open it for and you can divide them into group online also, right? So you divide them, you can create breakout room, so you can send them 15 minutes to go and discuss this case, come up and tell the diagnosis, come back in the general room and do. I think is a fantastic idea you can develop. So this kind of innovation is what we are expected to do. Yeah.
Thank you, Anam. And I think with this, we will be ending our Q&A session. Before I ask Mavish to close the session, I'll hand over the mic to Dr. Shabir Zedi to please say a few words.
Thank you, Tabassum. Thank you, Shahid. As always, as expected, a few very high standard. I mean, if I had to examine you, I'd probably give 15 out of 10.
You're always very generous.
You did say that in one of the methods, you can get over 100%.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
All right. So I have a couple of announcements to make. One is that our book called Global Medical Education in Normal and Challenging Times is currently with Springer, should be out hopefully in the next 2 to 3 months, because a lot of people are wanting your material to be sent individually, which will not be possible. So please wait for the book to come out and you'll get all this. Shahid has written 4 or 5 chapters, excellent chapters. So has Tabassum, and so is about 36 chapters and all. So the book will be out soon. Hopefully you will be able to access it and read it. It'll be online as well as a text printed copy.
Yeah. And that was the reason, Prof. Zadi, that was the reason I was away from webinars, because I was concentrating on with the team. My team. I have a very good team, editorial board that was given to me, very good, but we worked hard and we ultimately made it.
But as chief editor, you did a marvelous job. We only assisted you. The second thing is that we've started a Moose program, and that was my silly question that threw particularly for this reason, that I want people to come forward to give us mooses. It may be 5 minutes, 10, just one maybe program or 2 or 3. So we have 6 or 8 already ready, and we have the LMS system available. So please come forward in clinical and basic sciences. We'll be very grateful to you. The third thing is that we're also starting a series of more like clinical digital webinars by Hussain Shabi from King's College, more like digital technology, which is being embedded in medicine, like AI and VR. And so Hussain will be conducting those webinars in addition to what we're doing already. And finally, we already have 6 webinars booked up. So Hasnan Zafar is doing on the 19th, and Kareem Qayyumi is talking about cyber patient on 30th of April. Suchita has booked for May, and I think it's Nirmala for June. So July, we have vacancy. For August, we have a global conference, which is a blended conference that we're doing with WHO and Iraqi colleagues. So please come forward. And finally, I thank you all for joining us. SIVU is your university. Come forward to make it stronger, and we'll be grateful for your support. Over to Mavish. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending. And thank you to Dr. Shahid and Dr. Tabassum for this wonderful session. So the recording will be available soon at our website, so you should be able to see it there. And hope everyone has a good weekend. Okay, Hafiz.
Thank you and Khuda Hafiz. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, and bye.